During the February FWC Commission meeting, Chairman Rodney Barretto directed staff to prepare draft rules to be presented at the May meeting. These regulations would aim to implement a whitelist regulatory system, which would prohibit species that were not documented to be in trade previously in the state. This decision was influenced by FWC staff's inability to provide a comprehensive list of species being imported into the state, and also a misunderstanding about the simplicity of legally bringing animals into the state. Animal industry representatives saw this as an overly aggressive measure that essentially penalized industry for FWC's inability to effectively compile the data that's already provided to them through import permits and inventory lists and such. As a result, a large number of stakeholders plan to attend this May Commission meeting to oppose these whitelist proposals being presented by FWC. These proposals were published as draft rules less than 24 hours before the beginning of the Commission meeting, so several days after the period for public commenting online had already closed. On the first day of the meeting, Chairman Barretto nominated a new executive director.
I want to nominate someone to run the agency who can run the agency for at least the next 5 years, and that is Colonel Roger Young. I would like to nominate him to run the agency.
We look forward to working with Colonel Roger Young, who has been billed as a new direction for FWC and has promised to work with the animal industry, a stark contrast to the last 5 years at the agency under Executive Director Eric Sutton and Acting Executive Director Thomas Eason, who together unleashed a gauntlet of prohibitive rules and destructive directives which have led to the inhumane deaths of many animals.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of our meeting in Miami. Our first item of the day is a proposed rule, non-native fish and wildlife. Melissa Tucker will make the presentation on behalf of staff. Melissa.
On the second day of the meeting, Melissa Tucker, Division Director of Habitat and Species Conservation, gave a presentation outlining 2 different whitelist options. Option 1 would ban the importation of any species not already known to be in trade until it had been evaluated and approved by FWC. Option 2 would ban the importation of any species not evaluated and approved by FWC, regardless of its current status in trade, effectively ending trade in nearly all species. As Sandy Moore of Seagrass Farms said at the Emergency Tag webinar in April,
both options will be industry killers. One is just quicker than the other.
Despite the aggressive tone taken by Chairman Barretto at the February Commission meeting, his demeanor seemed more humble following Melissa Tucker's presentation.
Now, before we get on into public testimony, I'm also going to say this to my fellow commissioners. Maybe we ought to give this to the new executive director, Roger Young, Colonel Young, and let him, he just heard what we said. We've asked them to bring a rule here. I've also learned in my briefing that staff has recommended, and I want the public to know this, that maybe that rule shouldn't be implemented now because it would just kind of cause more issues for them. You know what I mean? Am I right with that, Melissa?
That's correct.
Okay, so with that, maybe we ought to consider, like, Roger, why don't you take a good look at this? We got to get our hands around this. I mean, Florida's a leader throughout the country, and I have a feeling that we're not leading in this area. And I say that, and I don't say that in a bad way. I think it's a major issue with major implications because we're basically regulating a livelihood on one side, and then we're regulating the Florida ecology on the other side. There's got to be a balance, and we got to meet in the middle, but we really need to know, and we really need to have our hands around what it is in Florida. If someone were to ask us a question, I mean, it's like real simple, like what's in Florida? Someone should be able to hand you a whole list and say, here it is. Right now, we don't really have that. Just bear those thoughts in mind. I'm going to tell you up front right now, at least for me, I'm one vote, that I'll vote to defer, to kind of man back to the new executive director, let him get his thoughts, his team together, get his hands around the issue, bring it back to us for an update at the next meeting. But I'm here to listen to the public as well, but I just want the public to know where we're coming from. So, any other thoughts, Vice Chair?
Thank you. Yeah, I would agree. We're not ready to vote on this yet. There's 54 people that came to speak to us today, and
Yeah.
we're going to hear them.
We will. I was prepared, but once I got my briefing, I didn't realize, and I'm being honest with you, I was a little shocked that we didn't have a much better grip on this, and I didn't realize how big it was. For some reason, I thought it was only 3,000 species. Now I'm hearing 20,000. So just think of the delta there, right? So, yeah. So anyways, Melissa.
I just wanted to clarify because when I sat back down, they said that you would like for us to come back at the next meeting. Is that with just an update and not rule? I want to be very clear on what we're being asked to do.
Well,
and I understand the new executive director will take a lead on some of that.
Those are our general thoughts right now. We're going to hear from
Okay.
the public. I'm not so sure that even as good as Roger Young is, that he'd be prepared to come back at the next meeting.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a big issue. We have identified it now as a big issue. We have a lot of work to do on this issue. I'm not so sure that Roger on day 2 is prepared to kind of come back and tell us what the plan of action is until he kind of gets with everybody. So
welcome to your new position, Colonel John.
yeah. So with that, why don't we start hearing from the public?
We have 54 speakers on this topic.
Hello. I'm not going to be too long. I do thank you guys for postponing that a little bit further and actually looking into it better. I do have a curious concern. If a lot of us submit inventory sheets and record sheets, and we have to do importation sheets, how did FWC not have the large amount on their inventories and stuff? This is a captive wildlife thing? I mean, are our sheets getting thrown away? I don't know what happened to our records. We have to maintain them. They do too. But that would help with part of y'all's list. I mean, you would see what's coming in and coming out. I am concerned that if you guys do continue with this, if your staff can't keep up with it, are you going to staff more people? Do you guys have the ability to do that? Are they going to be able to keep up? Is law enforcement going to be able to keep up? There's a lot of concerns with that. I am glad you guys did postpone it further, but those are some little thoughts you may want to consider too. It's going to affect both sides significantly. Thank you.
This is agriculture. This is not wildlife. This is agriculture. And this is the area that this commission has transgressed into. So there needs to be an understanding that 99% of the people that have an issue out here are dealing with captive cultured animals, or they're importing animals from other countries where they are ranched or farmed in captive culture. So we have a global distribution, we have a global production, we have a global system with product that people of all sizes and ages, want.
Whitelists don't work. It's been proven over and over. You've heard Major Burton express concern at the TAG meetings about enforcing a whitelist system. We heard Art from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service say, we know blacklists work and whitelists have some issues.
And there are still many questions that have been left unresolved, including whether the proposed would violate the Dormant Commerce Clause by placing an undue burden and on, end quote, discriminating against interstate commerce.
Those in opposition to the proposed whitelist rules far outnumbered the few that spoke in favor of a whitelist, while some opponents tempered their remarks in response to the Commission's more conciliatory approach. There were many passionate comments made, including those from parents advocating on behalf of their children. Here are some closing remarks from FWC Vice Chairman Stephen Hudson and Chairman Barreto.
So, thank you to the stakeholders for one. You are the good guys, right? You are the people that are doing it right. Okay, you're putting yourselves out there. I'd ask you, okay, because our fear, honestly, is the bad actors, right? And they're not here. And how can you help us identify those bad actors, right? And, does it sound like squealing on your friend? Perhaps, but it's those bad actors that require us to take action. And no, we don't want it to be draconian, but action does need to be taken. And so if you can help us help our law enforcement, take some of these bad actors out. We're not here to kill your livelihood, not in the least. So I know this is going to come back, but that was just one message that I kind of wanted to get out. And again, thank you for your comments.
I also want to just reiterate, we had a lot of discussions with the breeders, the captive wildlife, the breeders, and so on and so forth. And you can see their passion that comes through it. I think it's a new day, and I want to again emphasize it is a new day. We have a new executive director. We've already spoken. He knows that this issue is an issue that we need to get our hands totally around. We're not here to put anybody out of business. I think it's been very clear our mission. Now,
we would like to thank everyone who played a part in opposing these rules, whether you attended the FWC Commission meeting, or whether you submitted written comments online, or even just helped spread awareness. All of you made a difference. It's worth mentioning that even some FWC staff members privately expressed their appreciation for us opposing these rules, which they thought would be detrimental. We look forward to working with the new executive director, Roger Young, and we're cautiously optimistic going forward. However, it's important to recognize that these rules may very well pop up again in the future. And at that time, your strong opposition will be necessary again. As FWC Vice Chairman Stephen Hudson said at a previous commission meeting,
if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
It is likely that negative publicity from FWC's Holy Thursday massacre influenced their decision on this issue. In an upcoming video, we'll be covering FWC's response to the Holy Thursday massacre at this commission meeting. There will be a non-native species tag meeting in Tampa, June 20th through 21st. Observing these meetings in person is a good way to get a feel of where FWC is heading on their regulatory approach and also see the industry representatives' response. Please subscribe to USARK Florida on YouTube and like this video. We want to help keep you updated on all the issues facing animal keepers in Florida.